Hello and welcome to the Sleep When You're Dead book club. My name is Jessie and I'm here with Jess from Books Past Bedtime. Thank
Hello.
you for being here with me. I'm so excited to finally do this.
I know. Thanks
Um,
for having me. Sorry for rescheduling on you.
oh, no worries, no worries. Yeah, sometimes like it would be like, oh, this didn't work out. I was like, oh, actually something popped up too. So it like kind of worked out on my end too as well.
Okay, good.
But yeah, let me know down in the comments if you've read the book and what you think of it so far. But I thought we could just do introductions. So if you wanted to introduce yourself, say what kind of books you read, your social medias and all that.
Okay. Um, Hi guys, my name is Jess. As Jessie already said, my channel is Books Past Bedtime. You can find me on mainly YouTube and Instagram under that handle. I make a lot of like reading vlogs and fun, just kind of standard YouTube fare, and I also mainly read thrillers and romance, I would say. So, but I dabble in a little bit of everything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have been like following you for like so long, and I was so
Mhm.
excited that you actually agreed to come on to it.
Oh my
And
gosh, thank you. I
everything.
feel like we started probably at a similar time because I know that
Yeah.
I've been following you for a long time as well.
I feel like there's a lot of booktubers, but I feel like there's a lot of people that like started right around the same time.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I think it's so cool how like we've all progressed and things like that too as well.
Yeah.
And I like watching you like especially on your Instagram because like aren't you like a flight attendant now?
Yes, I am a
Oh,
flight attendant.
I love watching like I don't know, behind the scenes and like all the different cities and stuff like that. So
Thank you. I know I was in Orlando this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but now I'm back in New Jersey, so
Oh, wow. Where are you originally from, if you don't mind me asking, if unless
I'm
it's
actually from Virginia as well.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. I thought you were
Mhm.
from Virginia because 'cause I'm also from Virginia as well, so
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, unfortunately, guys, I was the slacker and I did not prepare any games at all. So unfortunately for this, there's no games or anything like that, but I'm sure Jess is like, yay, no games. But it's okay. I'll have more. So Jordan, if you're watching, you'll be the next one to suffer through all my embarrassing games. um, so yeah, I thought we could just dive into the questions I sent some of you, or I sent some of the questions for you to kind of review. But in case you're stumbling and you don't know what book we're reading In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I kind of like squealed a little bit when you said you wanted to read this book. I was like, yes, I've been wanting to read this book for the longest time, but I was waiting for the audiobook and it doesn't come out till next month.
Oh, okay. Man,
So
I came a little bit too early, but
no worries. Well, I was just like, I need to stop relying on audiobooks. So it was well worth it. Um, but the first question I always like to ask is like, why did you choose this book?
so I feel like I had heard like so much buzz about this one. I felt
Mhm.
like it popped up on so many people's like best books of 2021 lists. So I was so intrigued. My friend Caroline particularly said she thought it would be something
Mhm.
that I would like. So that made me really interested in it. And also just like in general as like a dark academia thriller, I thought that sounded so cool and
Yes.
like something that I would definitely like. So that's
Awesome.
kind of why I wanted to read it.
It's funny, I kinda feel like I do this to myself, but, like, when I'm on, like, NetGalley to get, like, advanced reader copies for, like, my Kindle, I see books, I'm like, "No, doesn't look that interesting," and I saw that book pop up so many times, and I was just like, "No, it doesn't sound that good." Then it got published, and I couldn't get it, and then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds so good," and I don't know, I feel like dark academia books are pretty popular right now,
Mhm.
so I don't know. I feel like I'm such a newbie with that like subgenre, so I was really excited to read another one. So you picked a good one in my opinion. So
Good.
before we move on, let me just see who's all in the chat real quick. I did see this comment. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it, but that's okay. She can come back and see it another time. Hey Gwen, how are you? I remember you giving it 3 stars. I think you're the first person that didn't love it. So I'm really excited to hear your thoughts. Hey, Kim. Gwen said, hey, I read it. I loved it and gave it 5 stars. I have not read the book. I'm waiting for the audio as well. I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to reread it when the audiobook does come out.
Yeah,
So
I wonder it would be a good one for, like, a full cast
yeah,
in
I
person and,
agree.
like, moving characters.
Oh yeah. Hey, Ashley. Everyone's saying hi. Okay, one more. I agree. I feel like all of a sudden the last year academia has been super popular. Yeah, which I'm not mad about. So happened to read it this month and loved it. Read the book in October. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Okay, cool. Okay. So this is the author's debut novel, which I feel like is pretty impressive in my opinion. But how did you feel the author did, and do you have your eyes on any other books that she's coming out with?
So I definitely think I was also, like, very impressed by the fact that this was a debut. I felt like the writing was really strong and the, like, plot she developed and the intricacies of it were really impressive to me for being a debut. Like, I thought she blew it out of the water, honestly, so I would definitely be interested in reading anything else she might happen to publish. I'm not really up on if she does have something in the works, but I
No,
definitely would pick up her next book for
yeah,
sure.
she actually has 2 books coming out this year. And one
Oh.
of them is a romance. Um,
Oh, I
so
could see that.
yeah. So if
I
anyone's curious, it's Fool Me Once and then The Last Housewife. I'm not sure when they come out off the
ooh,
top of my head, but since you like romances, I think
yeah.
that might be something you might be interested in. But yeah, totally agree. The book was a good debut novel. Did not seem like a debut in my opinion, so hopefully she
Mhm.
continues with that. Um, let's see. Saw a few comments pop up. Katie Colson was someone who did not like the book. Oh yeah, I think I remember that actually. Full cast audiobook would make me reread. Yeah. Haven't read the book, so we'll leave when we get into spoilers. No worries. I can't wait to see what her upcoming romance is going to be like. Yeah, I actually read the synopsis not that long ago and it sounded pretty good. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this book had, like, a little sprinkle of romance in it, which I really
yeah.
like, so I
Yeah.
can see her writing, like, a cool, interesting romance for sure.
Mhm. I love when thrillers have romances, like where it's not like the main plot, but like
Yeah.
love
Mhm.
that I don't know what it is. It's like the perfect dynamic. So how would you describe this book in 3 words?
Okay, let me remind myself of the words that I picked. So I definitely ominous is one of my words. I feel like
Mhm,
this book just had this, like, tone of paranoia the whole time where you're kind of like,
mhm,
"What the heck is going on?" You know something bad is coming. I mean, because obviously they tell you from the very beginning that something bad has
mhm.
happened, so you're just, like, trying to figure it out. And then, like, twisted and messy also. These
Yeah.
characters were, like, just such a mess, but, like, in a good way that was so fun to read about, but
Mhm.
they were a lot.
Yeah.
So, I think that's definitely
Oh, yeah.
ominous, twisted, and messy are my 3 words.
Okay. I suck at this question, so definitely messy. I also wanna say, like, relatable because when it came to, Jessica, um, even though I particularly didn't like her as much, I do feel how she feels, like, when I was in, like, in school and stuff like that, I definitely felt those things. So relatable, and then I would also say messy because it was kinda like, I don't know, like, addicting to, like, see everything, like, go chaotic in the same
Yeah,
s so,
and
yeah.
all these characters were just, like, their own worst enemies
Yeah.
too, which
Yeah,
was,
like
like, added to the messiness and, like,
mhm.
what is
Yeah.
going
Yeah, like, no one had their life together, basically,
on.
in my opinion. Let's see. I can't wait to see what her upcoming romance book is gonna be like. Yeah, totally. Fool Me Once comes out in April, so almost in 1 month, and then The Last Housewife in August.
Oh, wow, that's quick.
I know. I
She's
love
just
that she's
banging
not
away.
sticking to one genre too.
Yeah.
So, I can't wait to read this. I am the last person on the planet who has not read it. I thought the same thing, Kim, but I guess you are now. So, okay. Let's see. Are there any other books you would compare it to or maybe recommend based on its vibes and the contents in it?
So, I definitely, it reminds me a lot of, like, The Maidens by Alex Michaelides that also came out
Mhm,
last year, had that same, like, dark academia thriller vibe.
mhm,
Um, Also, like, the classic Secret History by Donna Tartt, I feel like The Secret History is super similar to this one just because it has, like, a cast of, like, screwed up people, like,
mhm.
making a mess of things, doing really bad things, like a cast of unlikable characters, same dark academia setting. Those are the 2 that come to mind, like,
Okay.
most.
I
Yeah.
have not read any of those. I have The Maidens on my TBR though, so I will eventually get to that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read this one, but They Never Learn by Lane Fargo.
Oh, yeah, I have.
Yeah,
I did
okay.
that one too.
I love that one. I need to reread it actually. I don't know why I'm, like, always wanting to reread stuff, but with that dark academia vibes and
Mhm.
also, like, oh my gosh, those gray characters or
Yeah.
morbidly gray, is that the right word?
Yeah, I think, like, Morally Gray.
Morally gray,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking of. So, I think if you like that one, you would definitely like this one in case
Mhm.
that's something. Okay. So what's your star rating with this book?
I think I settled on, like, a 4.5 star
Mhm.
for this one. Like,
Gotcha.
it was missing something for I couldn't, like, bring myself to give it a 5 star, but I really, really liked it, so.
Yeah. I gave it a 4, because like you said, I do feel like there was something missing. I still can't pinpoint what that is.
Mhm.
Um, but I think I was just so excited to read that one for months and months and months, and then I finally read it, and it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. Maybe if I had the audiobook, I would have loved it a little bit more, but I'm gonna settle with a 4 star. It's not my favorite thriller, but I do really, really did really enjoy it. Before we get into spoilers, I like to just pinpoint if anyone that has not read it, of any trigger warnings and stuff like that. So did you see any particular like trigger warnings throughout this book?
Yes, I definitely think there are some major ones. In particular, like, there's on page, like, child abuse of when our main character was younger.
Mhm,
Also lots of characters struggling with drug addiction. Um, there's, like, an off-page sexual assault, rape scene,
mhm.
um, recreational drug use, and obviously, like, murder and gore because it's a thriller,
Yeah,
but
yeah, the usual.
yeah,
Um,
there are some dark themes, so for sure.
oh yeah, yeah, definitely like drug abuse, sexual assault, rape, and things like that as well. I also saw a little bit, and again, I'm not like the best person to point this out, but I did see like a little bit of like homophobic
Yeah.
vibes to it too. So if that is something else, definitely
Yes,
keep that in
definitely.
mind. So Gwen said it reminds her of If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I'll have to write that one down actually.
I know that I've heard of that one, but I don't know that it's actually, like, made its way onto my TBR yet. I don't know enough about it.
We were villains. I'm always writing suggestions down, so I'll have to look that one up, Gwen. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to jump into spoilers. So if anyone who has not read the book, this is your cue to like come back later. So, but one thing I think is really cool about books is like what the first chapter or first few chapters can say about a book. So, how would you say, like, reading this book initially, like, what were your thoughts?
So I feel like if I'm remembering, like, what I got out of the first couple chapters was really just a look into Jessica and how her mind worked, our main
Mhm.
character. Um, I feel like the plot and the action of the book didn't really kick off until we were already at the, like, reunion, but the first couple of chapters were kind of learning that what makes Jessica tick and that, like you talked about earlier, she is kind of a relatable character even though you hate her at the same time,
Yeah.
which is such a weird juxtaposition as a reader.
Mhm.
Because, like, she feels like she really wants to desperately, like, prove herself. She wants, like, affirmation from the people around her that she's successful and doing well. She also, like, feels left out and, like, not good enough and, like,
Mhm.
really is focused on comparing herself to other people a lot,
Yeah.
which are, I feel like, all feelings that most people have, at least me definitely when I was particularly younger, but even still sometimes. But then,
Mhm.
like, she takes it to such a point that it's like she's a very unlikable character and you
Yeah.
just wanna, like, get it together, like, shake her, but so
Mhm.
I feel like and then we are also getting this, like, ominous, like, hint that she did something wrong, but she doesn't remember what it is, kind of
Mhm.
vibes, which I
Yeah.
feel like is what hooked me, and I'm like, "Okay, this is the mystery, like,
Mhm.
what is going on?" She's obviously kind of an unreliable narrator too, so you're like, "Can we trust her?" Trying to figure that out also,
Yeah.
so I definitely think the first couple chapters were pretty good in this book.
Yeah. I remember reading the first chapter and I was like, I don't like this girl at all. She's
Yeah.
very, like, narcissistic, like, very self-centered, and it's talking about where she gets her invitation to the reunion, but then I feel like chapter 2 or 3 or something, you start seeing her, like, going back to like, the flashbacks going back to college and, like, meeting people, and then I'm like, "Okay, well, she's a little bit more relatable," like I had said before.
Mhm.
But yeah, didn't trust her. I was like, I feel like it's 2 separate people, but, like, also the same person at the same time, and like you said, there was hints that she did something that she doesn't remember, so I'm like, "Okay, well, I gotta know what you did," so, but yeah, I'm glad that we both agree as well, because I was like, "Man, this is gonna be super weird if she hated it and I liked it."
Yeah. I thought it
Um,
was so weird, like, reading from a character named Jessica also, I don't know if you
yeah,
had that experience, but I was like,
mhm,
"This is, like, too close to home for me." It was
yeah,
stressing me out a little bit.
and we did not plan that at all.
I know.
I was reading it, like, in my TBR videos, like, "Oh my gosh, Jess, and Jessica." Super
The
weird.
trifecta.
Uh, okay, so there is the synopsis for When We Were Villains, I believe that is what that is. Don't remember much about the Lion Game, gave it 5 stars, but it has a very similar premise. Okay, I've kind
Mhm.
of written off Ruth Ware, so, but I have heard good things about this one in particular, but I just don't trust Ruth Ware, so, uh, Gwen agrees. Yeah, things didn't start off for me until page 80. Okay. Gave it 5 stars, that's awesome. For my review, things didn't really get interesting until Eric confronted the main group, which wasn't until page 88. So pretty much I'm saying the first 100 pages weren't my favorite. Yeah, and that's probably right, like you had said, like when things started to kick off and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So, I would say like the first third or maybe less than a third, maybe a quarter of the book, it was a lot of build up and like backstory and stuff like that. Um, let's see. We've already kind of went over this, but my next question that I usually ask is like, did it draw you in or did it take a little bit? I feel like it was a mixture of both between me because it's like I don't like the characters, but then like I'm too invested as well.
Mhm.
So would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree that, like, I was very interested in what was going on, but I feel like it took until, like, the action started,
Mhm.
to really, like, get me sucked into the book,
Yeah.
also, like, the Coop and Jessica romance, like, sucked me in. Once that was
Yeah.
on page, I was like, "Okay, what's
Yeah.
happening with this?
Exactly.
This is a screwed up situation, but I need to know."
I will say this, I did get pretty confused on like who was who. Just because there were so many characters because like if you've read the book, you know they're called the East House or yeah, East House 7.
Mhm.
And so there's like 7 characters that we're following and things like that. So how would you describe each one of the characters if you could remember all the characters? Because there were so
So,
many.
I think I remember
Okay.
I just cannot remember the Jessica's boyfriend's name. Like, what was his name?
Mint.
Oh, Mint, okay. I
Yeah.
was, like, answering the questions earlier, and I was like, I could not remember his name to save my life.
You're fine.
But so Mint's kind of like the golden boy. Like,
Mhm.
he's rich and handsome and successful and, like, president of his frat, like, everyone wants to be him or be with
Yeah.
him. And then there's Jack, who is, like he grew up this buttoned up church boy,
Mhm.
um, but now he's, like, going to college, gaining some freedom.
Mhm.
Frankie, who's the football player, the jock of the group, um, Jack and Frankie are canoodling behind the scenes, but Jack's also dating Heather. So Heather and Jessica and Caroline all live together and are the
Mhm.
girls of the group. Oh, Who's the other person? Who am I forgetting?
Let's see. I wrote Jessica was the smart
Oh,
one.
I yeah.
Mint was the golden boy, Jessica's
Mhm,
sweetheart. Frankie was the star athlete. Kara was the caretaker of the group, I would say. Jack was the born into a religious family. Heather, which is Jack's girlfriend, the one that gets murdered. I always felt like something like everything was just handed to her on a silver plate.
mhm.
Her life
Yeah,
was just
she was, like, the epitome of privileged.
yeah. The yes, that's exactly perfect wording on that. So, but I had to like write notes. I was like, who is who? Because like I obviously like I Heather and Jess or Jessica were like the only two I could like keep up with, but everyone else's names I was like, I have to write notes or something. And I could like carry the sticky note from page to page to make sure I remembered.
Yeah.
So
They all really did, now that you say that, kind of fit, like, stereotypes or, like, character
mhm,
archetypes,
yeah.
like Jock and Golden Boy and
Mhm,
Bad Guy and, like,
yeah.
it's interest I didn't think about that until now, but that's
Mhm.
kind of interesting. I wonder if she did that on purpose to kind of play with those characters.
Probably, especially since there were so many characters, try to
Yeah,
give them different
yeah,
personalities and things like that. Gwen said, "I feel like there were so many characters too, not just the main 7, but side characters and stuff too is a bit much." Yeah, I agree. Had a hard time catching on to the characters too. I wish there was like 2 or 3 fewer. I agree, but like I also was invested once I actually got to know people's secrets and stuff like that. But I mean, like we said, Jessica and Coop were like our main ones. Oh yeah, Coop.
yeah, he was the one I was forgetting originally.
I was like, I know there's another one. I just wish we didn't have all the side characters on top of the main 7. Yeah, I agree. I feel like the beginning a new character was introduced every page. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Came back to the wrong page. Were there any characters that you were rooting for or that you were more interested in reading or that stood out to you, I guess?
Yeah, it definitely was hard to root for anyone in this book
Yeah.
because they were all kind of awful in their own way, which is kind of the point of the story.
Mhm.
But, I mean, I felt like I couldn't help, like, root for Jessica a little bit. At the
Mhm.
very least, I wanted her to not be the one that had murdered Heather because I was like,
Mhm.
"I know you're bad, but you're not really that bad."
Yeah.
So, I found myself, like, rooting for her, and also, like, I wanted her to, like, get out of her own way and, like, just be with Coop because her,
Mhm.
like, stupid preconceived notions were just
Yeah.
they got annoying by the end, so,
Mhm.
but and I also just really liked Coop in general. I feel like he was the least maybe screwed up of all of them. I feel like
Mhm.
maybe I'm forgetting something, but he definitely I feel like maybe he has, like, psychopathic tendencies or something because the way that he felt about Jessica was, like, borderline obsessive, and I
Mhm.
feel like people with psychopathic tendencies can, like, latch on instead of, like, love somebody. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it reminded me of, is that kind of a relationship, which I thought was interesting. I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, going back to, like, the too many characters thing, I feel like some of these characters we, like, didn't get to explore enough,
Yeah.
where if there were, like, 2 or 3 fewer, like,
Mhm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. I was, rooting for the romance between Coop and Jessica. But I was also like I kind of felt bad for Mint as well because I was like, Jessica's doing this behind his back and everything like that. Like, so I did like feel him. And of course, it like came up and bit me in the butt at the very end. But I was just like, man, I feel so bad for this person.
Yeah,
But Heather was like the one character that I did not like at all. Like, I was like, I know you got murdered, but like, I'm not that upset either
yeah,
because she was,
and I think it's probably because Jessica hated her so much, like,
yeah.
she only painted her in a negative light because she hated her,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
we hated her as well.
Yeah. And I guess like, even though she got murdered, I guess, like, the author was trying to make us not really care for that person either because they're
Yeah,
all pretty, messed
yeah,
up and horrible people to begin with.
yeah.
Um
I think it's interesting too because, being mostly from Jessica's perspective, I felt the same way she did about a lot of the other characters, which I think is purposeful.
Mhm,
And, like, I am somebody who absolutely hates cheating in books and thinks it's, like, unforgivable, and
mhm.
but I was like, "Yeah, man, get out of the way," like,
Yeah.
Like, "Screw
Cooper's
you, Caro." But,
yeah.
like, it's so strange because I would never think I avoid it in books and, like, I
Mhm.
hate it in real life, so, like, I
Yeah.
felt like from Jessica's perspective, I was, like, seeing from things from her point of view, like,
Mhm.
feeling the same way she was.
Yeah. Like, leaving your, values out of it because 'cause
Yeah,
you're, like, so focused on,
yeah,
like, her side of the story and
mhm.
everything like that. Yeah, I could totally see that. Um, Based on the format or the style, like, do you think she did, like, a good writing style? Is it something that you prefer and things like that? Like, I think she really did a good job at, like, making you invested with, like, sucky people, so
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of struggle with the whole unlikable characters thing, like, sometimes it's just too much for me, but I feel like
Mhm,
this was a good level of, like, you related to the characters and, like, understood them, but you also hated
mhm.
them at the same time and thought they
Yeah.
were sucky people, so I thought that was really good, and, just the writing in general, I loved, like, how this kind of subverted genres, like, it was a thriller, it was romance, dark academia, like, I feel like it had a lot going on, which I
Mhm.
really liked. I feel like it was also, like I feel like a lot of times thrillers aren't character driven, but this was character driven, which I
Yeah.
liked as well.
Mhm.
So, I think she did a great job writing and, like, bringing everything together and making, like, a
Mhm.
really, like, layered, rich
Mhm.
story, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
One thing I hate in thrillers is knowing who dies, and then you spend the entire book
Mm,
trying to figure out who did it, and I didn't feel that way towards this book. Like, I don't know what it was. I guess because it was very seamlessly woven with all the different character dynamics and, like, the romance and, like, the dark academia and stuff like that. Like, I just felt like it was just I don't know. I usually hate that in thrillers, but it did not bother me this time.
yeah.
Let's see. It felt like the oh wait, hang on. Felt bad for Mint until he laid it out where he was really with Jessica. Yeah. Okay. Um, I know this book is getting a lot of buzz on YouTube and other social media platforms. Do you think it delivered? Like, do you think the hype was like, do you think it met the expectations of all the hype that's been getting, or do you think the hype kind of dampened, the overall feel?
I definitely think like, I can see why everyone loves this book and why it's getting
Mhm.
so much hype. Even, like, talking about it in this discussion, I'm like, "Maybe I should just give it 5 stars 'cause I really like it." But I feel like the reason I initially gave it 4.5 stars was because I went in, like, expecting this to be, like, a life-altering, life-changing
Mhm.
thriller, and it wasn't. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's why I gave it 4.5 stars, even though I really liked it.
Yeah.
So a little bit of both.
Yeah. And yeah, I feel like I think I set the bar too high for this book,
Mhm.
and I didn't think about it until maybe a few days later because I was, like, talking about it with my coworkers and stuff like that, and I was like, "Man, I kinda wish I read this book before everyone else, because then I could be like, 'I know, it's amazing.'" But I didn't. So, I do feel like me setting the bar so high it was also on my TBR videos, like, month after month, and I just never read it. So, now that I have read it, it's a great book, don't get me wrong, I definitely would recommend it to other people, but it's not my favorite, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm so easily influenced by other people's opinions
Yeah.
too, and I can't figure out how to not be. So, like, if somebody hated a book and then I read it right after I listen to them talk
Mhm.
about how they hated it, I'm like, "I hated it too."
Yeah.
If somebody really liked it, then I'm like, "Oh, well, this is great." Like,
Yeah, I'm the same
like,
way, like,
do I have my own thoughts? I don't know.
everyone was loving it, and then Gwen didn't like it or didn't like it as much as everyone else. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so maybe it isn't that good." So I don't know, I feel like hearing a negative thing about it, like, kind of brought me down to, like, realistic
Mhm.
expectations, but I was still very, very excited to read it, so
Yeah.
I think the characters were good, but the plot didn't offer anything new or fresh or from the high expectations I had based on other people's reviews. I was expecting more uniqueness. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm also still new to the dark academia like subplot to it. So I feel like that I really did like, but also I'm a huge fan of like romances in my thrillers too. So there were other things like distracting me from that as well. Ashley agrees. I was expecting more crazy, mind-blowing twists based on all the hype. Yeah, I did think there was gonna be a bigger twist, even though I'm very oblivious to twists.
I'm the
So,
same way. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, anything could shock me."
yeah, that's how I feel all the time too. I probably would have rated it higher and enjoyed it if I had caught it before the hype. Yeah, I agree. Exactly. I feel like the plots are always recycled and that's fine, but with everyone loving it, I'm like, how? Laugh out loud. Yeah, I can understand that point. Okay, whenever I answered that question. Okay, let's get into the plot twist. Perfect segue. Were you surprised? What did you think? How would you summarize it? Like, what do you think?
When, Mint was finally announced to, like, be the murderer, I definitely was very shocked, like, I was like, I would never he was, like, the last person I was expecting.
Mhm.
For, like, quite a long time, I thought maybe it was Coop, and, like, for some reason, he had killed Heather to be with Jessica, like, something or had, like, killed
Mhm.
Heather for Jessica or something, like, that's
Yeah.
kinda where my mind was going. So when
Mhm.
it was Mint, I was like, "What the heck? What why?" But then when it unfolded, I was like, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense."
Mhm.
Um, so I liked the twist, and I was definitely very shocked by it, and I thought it was good. I feel like maybe it was a little iffy that he didn't realize he was murdering Heather, not Jessica, but also
Mhm.
he was in, like, a fit of rage having a psychotic break, so,
Yeah.
I guess that's understandable, and they made such a big point of the fact that, like, Heather was in Jessica's bed, so
Mhm.
but
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that could've again, I'm oblivious. So, I feel like I should have seen how it may have been him because she was in Jessica's bed.
Mm.
Um, but like you said, like, how did he not realize he was murdering the wrong person? But again, I've never murdered anyone, so I'm sure it could
Yeah.
happen.
Once you
Um,
get to the point where you're murdering someone, it probably doesn't technicalities aren't really entering your mind.
yeah. I was more surprised that Jessica actually did know what happened when she, like, walked into the bathroom and stuff. Like, I feel like that was more surprising to me than the actual, like, reveal of who the murderer is.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. And, like, the way it ended with her, like, kinda getting off and stuff like that, like, hmm, interesting.
So, that I feel like I think of that as, like, the secondary twist, and for me, I didn't think it was that shocking because the whole time she's, like, hinting that she did something bad,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm like when it's kind of revealed, like, what she at first remembers that she just, like, cut up Heather's picture and, like, broke into the school to steal the list of people who won,
Mhm.
like, that's not bad, really, like
Yeah.
so I was like, kind of expecting something to happen, and the whole book we're spent like, she tells us, like, I'm not a good person, I'm a bad person,
Mhm.
like, I did something really bad." So and then in that kind of final confrontation scene, she's kind of very far redeemed
Mhm.
because it's revealed, like, that this terrible trauma happened to her and, like, she really didn't do anything wrong, and she feels guilty about it anyway, and,
Mhm.
like, everyone is like, "Okay." I feel like she finally gets her martyr moment sort of too, especially
Yeah.
after she kills Mint. Um, but then when they reveal that, like, she is also screwed up,
Yeah.
it's like, that
Just
makes
as bad.
sense. Yep, and then her and Coop ride off into the sunset together to be screwed up together, and it's beautiful.
I mean, I was a little happy that happened, but I mean, it's like, they lived happily ever after, but they're still all messed up. So, yeah. So do you feel like even though as dark and twisted as it is, do you feel like the ending was good? Um, not like you weren't let down or anything like that, or things you would have changed or anything like that?
No, I actually really liked the ending,
Mm.
like, I thought it was
Yeah.
good. Like, um, I don't know, I feel like bad people get away with bad things all the time,
Yeah.
and I feel like it was kind of realistic in that way,
Mhm.
but also, I don't know, I liked the ending, I thought it was
Yeah.
good.
But
Thought it
like you
was
said, like, bad people get away with stuff all the time, and I kinda feel like if like, she would have been, like, prosecuted and stuff like that, I kinda feel like it would've came to, like, well, what was the point?
Mhm.
You already got away with it, like, once, now what's like the rest of her life. I don't know. I feel like if it went where, she didn't walk away free and be with Coop and stuff like that, I feel like that would have definitely dampened my mood on it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Those are all my questions. Did you have any like additional thoughts, feelings, anything else you wanted to discuss about it?
Um, the only thing that, like, I thought was I don't know if you found her as interesting as I did, but I thought Caro was a super interesting character and, like,
Mhm,
not talked about a lot. Like, she seemed very, like, screwed up to
mhm.
me, especially when she, like, admitted to stalking her friends and, like, having, like, attachment issues and things like that. I feel like she would have been a super interesting character to have, like, explored more, and I
Mhm.
wish we had gotten, like, more of her,
Yeah.
and especially, like, I don't know, the way Jessica was so willing to, like, screw her over, like,
Yeah.
I just thought it was really she was an interesting character, but not,
Mhm.
like didn't get enough page time.
Yeah. I do feel like out of the 7, I feel like she kinda had the less light shined on her,
Mhm.
and I don't know, I feel like we got a lot of backstory from other people or what they were doing or what had happened to them, and I don't know, she would have been more interesting. I didn't realize that until after you had put that, like, in the questions and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But yeah, I do agree after I had read that, so, hang on, I see a comment from, let's see. I see one from Gwen that I have to get to later. I gave it 5 stars because it was a good time reading it. I think I'm just easily amused by anything that's not accounting homework, so I don't think I'm a great judge for books right now. I don't like to rate books based on, like, I don't know, like, being, like, super nitpicky and, like, critiquey. Like, if I had a great time, 5 stars. If I had a
Yeah.
horrible time, I DNF'd it or gave it a 1 star. So, I don't know. I'm also the worst person to rate it based on its, like, fine-tuned nitty-grittiness of it, so, felt like it was a typical thriller with the trope of someone died and now 10 years later we find out the truth. Yep, that's, like, the perfect summary of it. Qu Jess, are you going to raise your rating? Jess, are you raising your rating? Jesse, what's your final rating? I'm gonna stick with a 4 until I reread it.
I have not decided yet, but for now, it's gonna stay at 4.5.
Yeah. I feel like I definitely wanna reread it with the audiobook and see if it changes my mind.
Mhm.
I don't know, just because I feel like I would get to know the characters a little bit more hearing voices or something if it's a full
Yeah.
cast.
You'll have to let me know if it's good
Yeah,
'cause
okay. I'll definitely let you know. Was the real winner of the group because she finally got away with the whole toxic group. Yeah,
that's true.
yeah. She really rode out into the sunset.
Mhm.
Well, perfect. Um, anyways, thank you all for joining. Thank you, Jess, for being my co-host. I'm so
Of
excited.
course.
I finally
Thank
got to
you.
read a book.
I know,
That
it's so good to read this book, I loved it, so happy to be here.
Awesome. Yes. So make sure I definitely linked her channel in the description. So make sure you go check her out. Um, I love that you're doing more videos and stuff like that. And I've definitely been checking out your romance recommendations because I have been lacking in that department. So definitely go check her out. Another quick announcement. I wanted to say that I was about to say April, the March book club pick will be with Jordan from Sorry Book Solid, and we'll be reading The Good Samaritan by John Mars. Mine actually just came in the mail yesterday, I think. So I'm really excited to read that one. So definitely keep your eyes open for that. Also, I wanted to shout out Gwen. I originally rated it 4, but then lowered. I reread with audio. I want to reread with audio, maybe make it go back up to a 4. Okay. Gwen is going to be hosting tomorrow, right, Gwen? Your monthly wrap up. I will be there in the comment section, but I definitely wanted to give her a shout out because I was on January's wrap up live show. So definitely go follow her as well. But yeah, with that being said, I guess we'll go ahead and end it. So yeah, again, thank you, Jess, for being a co-host.
Of course.
And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye.